In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the information that is located on pages Excel 32 and 33, which is entitled Copying and Moving Cell Entries. You can copy or move cells and ranges, or the contents within them, from one location to another using the Cut, Copy, and Paste buttons, the fill handle in the lower right-hand corner of the active cell, or using the drag and drop feature. When you copy cells, the original data remains in the original location. When you cut or move it, the original data is deleted. You can also cut, copy, and paste cells or ranges from one worksheet to another as well. So when we take a look at this, we're going to take a look at step 1. And step 1 tells us that we're going to select the information, or select the range B3 to E3, which is going to select the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the Copy button in the clipboard group. Now the selected range B3 to E3 has been copied to the Office clipboard, which is the temporary storage area that holds the selections you cut or copied. A moving border surrounds the selected range until you press the Escape key or until you copy an additional item to the clipboard. Notice that the information you copied remains in the selected range. If you had cut instead of copied, the information would have been deleted once it was pasted. Step 2 tells us that we want to click on the launcher. In the clipboard group on there, very similar to Word, we notice that the clipboard task pane opens. Next, it tells us to click on cell B19, and then we're going to click on the Paste button in the clipboard group. And notice that that is going to paste the information for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 in cell B19. Of course, notice that when we click on the launcher, that's when the Office clipboard pane opened up. And your clipboard may contain additional items, which, if you've been following along with the video, it shouldn't. This should be the only item that's up there right now. Of course, when you're pasting an item from the clipboard into the worksheet, you only need to specify the upper left cell of the range where you want to paste the selection. Because remember, we only clicked on cell B19, and the other cells that we had copied fills in the rest of the information. Of course, next we're going to press our delete key. And so we are clearing these cells. So the cells that we have there are now empty, because we're going to decide to paste the cells in a different row. Now you can repeatedly paste an item from the Office clipboard as many times as you like, as long as the item remains in the clipboard. Step 4 tells us we're going to click on cell B20. Then we're going to click on the first item in the Office clipboard, which should be our quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and then we're going to close the clipboard. And of course, now you'll notice that the information, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, has now been pasted into cells B20, C20, D20, and E20. On step 6, it tells us, we'll go take a step back here on step 5. On step 5, we're going to click on cell A14, and that should say the 20% rise. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press and hold our control key and move our mouse pointer to any of the edges of that cell. And your pointer should turn into a regular pointer with a little plus sign, which is, as you see on my screen, it does. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on this and drag this down to cell A21. I'm going to release my mouse button and then release control. And when I do that, notice that I have made a copy of that information and have moved it down, moved the copy of that to cell A21. Next, on step 6, it tells me that I'm going to click to the right of the 2 in the formula bar, press my backspace key, and then I'm going to type in the number 3. So instead of a 20% rise, this should say 30% rise. Then I'm going to hit my enter key to accept the changes and to get out of edit mode. Then, on step 7, it tells me that I want to click on cell B21, and we're going to this time input in the formula, which is going to be equals, because remember, every formula starts with an equals. Then we're going to click on cell B12 because now we're going to be finding a 30% rise. Then we're going to type in the multiplication symbol, which is Shift 8 or your little asterisk key. Then we're going to type in 1.3. And that is another way of finding 30% on there, because we're taking cell B12 and we're multiplying it by itself plus 30%, or 0.3 or 3/10. Once we have that on there, we're going to click on our enter button here, and notice that we should have this as our result of 418,299.206. Now, this new formula calculated an increase of 30% of the revenue for quarter 1, using a different method from which we previously used up here, which we took it, add it to itself, and then multiply it by 0.2. This time we just multiplied it by 1.3, which is another way of calculating that. Because anything you multiply by 1.3 is going to return an amount that is 130% of the original amount, or ultimately a 30% increase. So if you take a look on on page Excel 33, compare what you see right now to the figure B11. Make sure that everything looks exactly like it is on there. If it is, go ahead and save your work. If it isn't, see if you can try to find out where you ran into an error at, or ask me for some assistance and we will help you out. Now, if we take a look at the yellow box on page Excel 33, this tells us a little bit about inserting and deleting selected cells. And it says, as you add formulas to your workbook, you may need to insert or delete cells. When you do this, Excel automatically adjusts cell references to reflect their new locations. To insert cells, you're going to click the Insert button list arrow in the Cells group on here, which is right up here. You're going to click on this up here, and that will then the Insert dialog box will open, asking if you want to insert a cell and move the selected cells down to the right of the new one. To delete one or more selected cells, you need to click the Delete button in the list arrow in the Cells group. You can also click on Delete Cells, and in the Delete dialog box you can indicate which way you want to move the adjacent cells. If you want to keep them there, if you want to move them up, if you want to move them down, or what you want to do with them. Then when using this option, be careful not to disturb row or column alignments that may be necessary to maintain the accuracy of cell references in the worksheet. Of course, you can also click the Insert or Delete buttons to add or delete a single cell. And that's the information about copying and moving cell entries. In the next video, we're going to be talking about understanding relative and absolute cell references, as well as copying formulas with relative cell references.